Good morning, welcome back to Sheldon's Garden Tips, your complete DIY guide for everything lawn and garden care. So today I'll be featuring the St. Augustine grass. So I'll be looking at the characteristics of the grass. I'll be giving tips on how to care for the grass, and I will finish out the video by mowing my St. Augustine lawn. So for my Jamaican viewers, when I say St. Augustine grass, I'm actually referring to what we Jamaicans call crabgrass. Now, St. Augustine grass is a warm season grass. So what that means is that the grass can only be grown in warmer climates. So in some countries, the grass can only be planted during the warm months and it then goes dormant during the winter. But Jamaica, being located in the tropical region, we are fortunate in that the climate is such that it supports the growing of St. Augustine grass all year round. Now, St. Augustine grass in places like Australia and South Africa, I think they call it buffalo grass or buffalo grass. Because warm season grass is known to us here in Jamaica are zoysia, Bermuda, centipede, and St. Augustine. So I have Bermuda, zoysia, and St. Augustine. I currently do not have centipede grass, but hopefully at some point in the future I will have a small patch at least. Now, the St. Augustine grass can be identified by their large leaves and large stems. Now, if you take a sample of a St. Augustine grass and then compare it against a sample of zoysia or Bermuda, it would be very clear to you that the St. Augustine leaves and stems are much bigger than those of the Bermuda and the zoysia. Now, the St. Augustine grass is produced by a process called vegetative propagation. So basically all that means is that the grass is not available from seeds. It's however produced through propagation by way of sods or plugs. Now, sods are basically large chunks of grass that are normally rolled out and planted to give an immediate lawn, whereas plugs are small pieces of grass that are planted and allowed to expand and establish over a longer period of time. Now, the St. Augustine grass spreads via what are called above ground runners. So these are basically stems that grow above the ground. So as it relates to Bermuda and zoysia, those grasses spread through both above ground runners as well as below ground runners. So the above ground runners are referred to as stolons, while the underground runners are referred to as rhizomes. Now, one of the main advantages of the St. Augustine grass is its ability to be planted in shaded areas. Because if you should take a look at where I plant my St. Augustine grass, you can see that there's hardly any sunlight. However, the grass is able to flourish and grow really well and really beautifully. Now, we all know grass, like trees, they do require sunlight in order to grow. So they depend on the sunlight to provide energy for converting carbon dioxide and water into glucose. Now, glucose is the main sugar that the plant requires to grow. So the CO2 is absorbed through the leaves while the water is absorbed through the roots. Now the plant then gives off oxygen to the atmosphere as a byproduct. Now, from your high school biology, I am sure you can recall that the process is called photosynthesis. Now, the grass also requires sunlight for producing chlorophyll. Now, chlorophyll is a pigment that causes the grass to appear green. Now, because of the very large leaves of the St. Augustine grass, it provides sufficient surface area to allow for the absorption of sunlight. So whether the sunlight is just trickling between the trees or shining underneath the trees, because of the very large surface area of the leaves, it's able to absorb sufficient to allow for the grass to be grown in shaded areas. So yes, the grass does require some kind of sunlight. However, it's very tolerant to heavily shaded areas. So it does not require a lot of sunlight to have your St. Augustine established. Now, that's not exactly the same for Bermuda in particular, and to a lesser extent, zoysia. Now, if we look at the pros and cons of St. Augustine grass, so as I said before, one of the main advantages of having St. Augustine grass is the fact that it can be grown and flourish very well in shaded areas. Also, another advantage of it is that it's very quick to establish. So when it's planted, even in plugs, once it's properly watered, it will spread quite quickly and fill out the space. And also another advantage is that it does require minimal maintenance. Now, in terms of disadvantages of having St. Augustine grass, one, it's very intolerant to drought. So St. Augustine grass loves water. So if you are unable to water the St. Augustine grass, if you are not in a position to be able to water the St. Augustine grass as required, then I would advise you not to get the St. Augustine grass, because it really requires a lot of water. Also, it's not tolerant to foot traffic. So if you're one of those persons who like to go outside and play in your lawn, the St. Augustine grass is not a grass for you. So now it's time to look at how to care for the St. Augustine grass. Now, when it comes to lawn care in general, the three main considerations are watering, mowing, and fertilizing. Now, St. Augustine grass, as I said before, it requires a lot of water. So studies have shown that zoysia and Bermuda grass on average require an inch of water per week to have them looking very well. Now, when it comes to St. Augustine grass, it would easily require twice that amount. And if it's planted in full sun, it would require even more. So that is to be borne in mind if you are considering planting St. Augustine grass. Now, in terms of how I water my grass, I have 3 attachments that I use. So I currently do not have an installed irrigation system. I intend to do that sometime next year, God's willing. So I use these 3 attachments to water. Now this acts as a type of pop-up sprinkler. So it's attached to my garden hose, and once the top is turned on, it sprays water up pretty much the same way a pop-up sprinkler does. So let me just give you an illustration. Then I have this second attachment. So this operates as some sort of a rotary sprinkler. So again, it's attached to my garden hose, and I stick it in the ground, and then once I turn on the top, it rotates, forcing water outward. And then finally, I have this bottle that I use to apply my liquid fertilizers. So the liquid fertilizer I use is 20-20-20. So it comes in a powdery form. So basically all I do, I would put a portion of it inside the bottle, fill the bottle with water, turn on the garden hose, open the valve, and have it sprayed. Those are the attachments I've been using for the last 3 years. and I've not had much of an issue. It is time consuming, however, but as I said, hopefully next year sometime I'll be able to install one of those underground sprinkler systems. Now, in terms of when and how to water your St. Augustine lawn, so it's best to water the lawn in the morning early. However, I work full time, so I am only able to water my grass in the evening. I have not had problems with evening watering. However, there are studies that have shown that by watering the grass in the evening, that gives rise to diseases and so forth. I have not had diseases, thankfully, and as I said, I've not been able to water my grass in the morning unless it's on weekends, because during the weekdays I work full time. Now, in terms of the frequency with which you should water your grass, it's important to water the grass deeply and infrequently. Now, what I mean by that, let us say, for example, the grass requires 2 inches of water per week. It's best to water the grass twice with 1 inch each time than to water the grass 4 times, giving it half of an inch each time. Now, by watering the grass infrequently, it basically gives the water enough time to drain down into the soil and allows the grass, the roots, to spread to reach that water. Now, that will cause the roots to be deeper, which means the grass will be healthier, and the grass would also become more drought tolerant. So again, water infrequently and water deeply. Now, when it comes to mowing, that's the single most important thing you can do for your lawn. It doesn't matter how much the lawn is watered and fertilized. If it's not properly mowed, the lawn will just simply not look good. Now, when it comes to St. Augustine grass, I use the rotor mower. So if you recall, in a previous video, I did a comparison between the rotor mower and the cylinder mower, and I said the cylinder mower is used for cutting the grass low. Now, St. Augustine grass doesn't like to be cut low, hence the cylinder mower is not appropriate for cutting St. Augustine grass. So that is why the cylinder mower, the rotor mower is preferred for the St. Augustine grass. Now, the reasons why the St. Augustine grass doesn't like to be cut low is because the stems are so big. When the grass is put low, the stems now become exposed, and then the grass kind of look a bit unsightly. Also, because the grass depends so much on the leaves for its survival. By cutting the grass low, it means you will be removing too much of the leaf, and that affects how well the grass, or how healthy the grass will be. I cut my St. Augustine grass on the ice setting on my lawnmower. Now, the setting can be adjusted using these levers. So the highest setting I have is number 5, which amounts to 3.5 inches tall. So that's the maximum height I'm allowed to cut this lawn using this lawn. I really would have liked to cut at 5 inches. However, this mower doesn't go as high as 5 inches. So one of my plans for the future is to get a lawnmower that is able to cut my grass at 5 inches tall. Now, as it relates to the frequency of mowing the lawn, again, if the lawn is to look good, it has to be cut quite regularly. So I cut my grass twice per week. And one very important rule of thumb is that the grass should never be cut. At no point in time should you remove more than 1/3 the height of the grass. Because if you remove more than 1/3 the height, it means the grass would be stressed and then it would affect the health of the plant. Now when it comes to Bermuda and Zoysia grass, when I cover those grasses, I will give other examples as to why mowing those grass, as to why taking off 1/3 the height of those grasses can also be detrimental to the grass. But that's for another video. Now when it comes to fertilizing the lawn, I do not have any hard or fast rule. I personally use any basic NPK fertilizer. Now the NPK basically means nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Those are the three main chemical elements that are present within the fertilizer itself. Now I use both granular as well as liquid fertilizers. Now when it comes to the granular fertilizer, this is what I use, and this I purchase at Super Value Hardware in Ligoni. It's also available in most garden stores around Kingston and maybe Jamaica in general. So it says it has 14% nitrogen, 28% phosphorus and 14% potassium. And at the top it says flowering plants and fruit trees. Now this is what I have been using for the last 3 years or so, and I use it on my lawn, all my lawns, Zoysia, Bermuda and St. Augustine, and I have basically had no issues whatsoever. Now in terms of liquid fertilizer, this is what I use. So it's 20-20-20, and this basically means it has 20 part nitrogen, 20 part phosphorus, 20 part potassium. And this I use in my spray bottle, and I apply it maybe once every 2 weeks. Now in terms of the frequency with which I apply my fertilizers, I apply the granular fertilizers every 6 to 8 weeks. Now when it comes to the liquid fertilizers, I apply liquid fertilizers once every 2 weeks, and sometimes maybe more frequently depending on how the grass looks. Now with the St. Augustine grass, sometimes between my applications of granular fertilizers, I do go back and apply some nitrogen fertilizer. This again depends on how the grass looks. Now if the leaves are yellowish, then I tend to apply the nitrogen fertilizer. Now it's very important that when applying the nitrogen fertilizer as well as this granular fertilizer, that the lawn be watered immediately after the fertilizer is applied. Now with the liquid fertilizer, you can apply it as often as you wish. I don't think it's necessary. The thing is that it will not harm the lawn. However, I only apply it once every 2 weeks on average. Now this is what it looks like after the mow. Now, one of the most important things about mowing the lawn is to have sharp blades. So unless the mower blade is very sharp, you won't get a good quality cut. In a future video I will show you how to sharpen the blades. Also the blades are quite cheap, so it could very well be more worthwhile just changing the blades as opposed to sharpening the old blades, because the blades can last a few months. The last blade I purchased at Super Value Hardware in Ligoni, the cost of it was I think 2,000 Jamaican dollars, which is not quite bad for the price of a blade. The machinery required for sharpening the blade would actually be more than $2,000, so it might make sense to just purchase new blades whenever the old blades are not sharp anymore. Now, I want to thank you for watching this video. We've come to the end, and I hope that at this point you now have a full understanding as to how the St. Augustine grass actually can be identified, how the grass is produced, how the grass grows, how the grass is to be watered, how the grass is to be mowed, as well as to how the grass can be fertilized. Now, as time progresses, you will get the chance to see how I mow this lawn and how I do general lawn care. Not just for my St. Augustine grass, but also for my Bermuda and my Zoysia grass. So thanks again for watching. As always, if you like my content, I ask that you give my video a thumbs up, like, share and subscribe. And just in case there's anyone who would like to purchase St. Augustine or Zoysia grass, I will leave the name and the number for the person from whom I purchased my grass. So the name will be across the screen. So thanks again for watching. See you in the next video.